Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going deep on Tools of Titans by Timothy Ferriss. You know that book where he kind of sat down with everybody
Yeah,
from Arnold Schwarzenegger to Jamie Foxx
really a diverse group.
to just pick their brains about how they do what they do at such a high level. And I was
Yeah.
I was particularly fascinated by the sheer diversity of the titans that he interviewed. You
Mhm.
know, it wasn't just CEOs and athletes.
Right.
There were artists, writers, even a poker player
That's what's so cool about that book. Like,
in the mix.
I think that's what makes Ferriss's approach so valuable is that he isn't looking for like this one-size-fits-all success formula.
Right.
He's digging into the unique strategies and mindsets that have worked
Yeah.
for individuals across this whole spectrum of fields.
Totally.
It's like he's saying, look, there's no single path to success,
Right.
but there are definitely patterns we can learn from.
Totally. Okay, so let's dive into some of those patterns. One that pops up again and again in the book is the 80-20 principle.
Okay.
And I think most of us have heard of it, right? The idea that 80% of our results come from 20% of our efforts.
Right.
But Ferriss really goes deeper.
He does.
He shares this story about Derek Sivers,
Oh.
the founder of CD Baby.
Mm-hmm.
And Sivers realized that just this tiny fraction of his customer support inquiries were actually driving most of the headaches and workload
I can relate to that.
for the company.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And what's so brilliant is that Sivers didn't just try to work harder at customer support.
Yeah.
He completely flipped the script.
Yeah. Yeah.
He made it harder for people to contact customer service in the first place.
Yeah.
He streamlined the website, made information more accessible.
Wow.
And as a result, his workload decreased dramatically without sacrificing customer satisfaction.
That's incredible. That's such a great example of how understanding the 80-20 principle isn't just about working harder. It's about working smarter.
Yeah.
You know, it's about identifying those crucial leverage points where a small amount of effort can yield outsized results.
Absolutely. And I think the challenge for all of us is figuring out in our own work and lives what that crucial 20% is.
Yeah.
What are the activities, the relationships, the tasks
Totally.
that are truly moving the needle for us?
Absolutely. And speaking of making tough choices, Ferriss has this fascinating tool that he calls fear setting.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to admit, when I first read about it, I thought, wait, intentionally focusing on my fears.
Right.
That sounds counterintuitive.
It does. It goes against everything we think we should do right.
Totally. Our instinct is usually to just try and push those fears away.
Yeah, just bury them, pretend they're not there.
But Ferriss makes the case that by actually defining our worst case scenarios,
Mm-hmm.
we can often take away their power. And he talks about a time when he was considering this really risky business venture.
Okay.
And he was terrified of failing.
Yeah.
So he sat down and he did this fear setting exercise.
Okay.
He wrote out in vivid detail what would happen if everything went wrong.
He really went there.
And you know what? As he was writing, he realized that even in the worst case scenario,
Mm-hmm.
he'd still be okay.
Wow.
You know, he'd learn from the experience. He'd figure something else out.
Okay.
He wouldn't be destitute and living on the streets.
So what you're saying is by going through that process and kind of looking that fear in the face,
Yeah.
he was able to rob it of its power a little bit.
Totally. And I think what's so powerful about that process is that it takes away that vague looming dread of the unknown.
Yeah.
You know, and it allows you to replace that fear with concrete action plans.
I see.
So instead of asking, what if this terrible thing happens? You start asking, okay, if this happens, what can I do about it?
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly it feels so much more manageable. Okay. Shifting gears a bit, let's talk about morning routines.
Okay.
Ferriss found that almost all of the Titans he interviewed
Mm-hmm.
had some kind of intentional routine to start their day.
Yeah.
But there's one that I just can't get out of my head.
Okay. I'm intrigued. Lay it on me.
Tony Robbins,
Oh, wow.
the motivational speaker,
Okay.
starts his day with something he calls a priming routine,
Okay.
and it involves a cold plunge.
Oh, I've heard about this.
Have you done it?
I have not. I'm not that brave.
He gets in like freezing cold water.
Wow. And he believes that shocking his system with cold water helps him wake up.
Fully boosts his energy, even improve his immune function.
Yeah, I mean, the science actually backs him up on some of that.
Yeah.
But what I find so fascinating about it is that for Robbins, the cold plunge isn't just about those like
Right.
physical effects. It's about cultivating a mental state of resilience and discipline.
Totally.
It's about starting the day by proving to himself that he's in control.
Yeah, so it's not just about like having a cup of coffee and checking your emails.
Right.
It's about intentionally setting yourself up for success, mentally and emotionally.
Exactly. And look, not everyone needs to start their day with a cold plunge.
Of course.
But I think the key takeaway here is the importance of finding what works for you.
Totally.
What are the activities, even if they're small, that can help you feel grounded, energized, and ready to tackle the day ahead?
All right, let's move on to the concept of deloading, which Ferriss really emphasizes as being crucial even for these ultra-driven titans.
Right.
It's about strategically incorporating breaks into our routines to prevent burnout
Yes.
and boost creativity.
Yeah.
And so Ferriss mentions the strategy that's used by Naval Ravikant,
Okay.
the entrepreneur and investor,
Yeah.
who's known for his incredibly intense work ethic.
Right. So how does he deload? I'm curious.
So Naval actually schedules unscheduled time
Wait, what?
into his calendar.
Okay.
And these are blocks of time where he doesn't commit to anything specific. It allows him to step back, recharge, and let his mind wander.
So it's like giving your brain permission to be bored, which can be surprisingly productive.
It can be in a world obsessed with constant productivity.
Yeah.
That idea feels almost radical, doesn't it?
It does. But I think that's where the real magic happens.
Totally.
When we're constantly on every, we don't give ourselves space for those creative breakthroughs or those moments of deep reflection that can lead to real innovation.
I love that.
It's like giving your brain permission to be bored, which can be surprisingly productive.
It can be. In a world obsessed with constant productivity, that idea feels almost radical, doesn't it?
It does. But I think that's where the real magic happens. When we're constantly on, we don't give ourselves space for those creative breakthroughs or those moments of deep reflection that can lead to real innovation.
I love that. Now, another thing that struck me about Tools of Titans was how much emphasis these high achievers placed on having a clear decision-making framework. They didn't just wing it, they had systems in place to help them make tough calls efficiently.
Right.
For example, Ferriss talks about the hell yeah or no rule, which was popularized by Derek Sivers.
Oh, yeah. The idea is that if you're not feeling a resounding hell yeah about something, then it's a no. It's about being incredibly selective with your time and energy and only committing to things that truly excite you.
It's such a simple concept, but it's so powerful. Think about how much time and energy we waste on things we feel obligated to do or things we're only mildly interested in.
Absolutely. And when you start applying that hell yeah or no filter, you start to create more space for the things that truly matter.
Right.
You become much more intentional about where you're directing your focus.
Switching gears a bit, one of the most consistent themes that emerges from Ferriss's interviews is the importance of self-awareness.
Oh, yeah.
These titans all seem to have a deep understanding of their strengths, weaknesses, and what truly motivates them.
It's like they know themselves inside and out.
Totally. Ferriss shares an anecdote about the entrepreneur and investor Peter Thiel,
Okay.
who has a unique way of interviewing job candidates.
Oh, really?
So Thiel asks candidates this: what important truth do very few people agree with you on?
Oh, I love that question.
It really forces you to think critically and to articulate your own unique perspective.
It cuts through the surface level and gets to the heart of what makes someone tick.
Totally.
What are their core beliefs? What are they willing to stand up for, even when it's unpopular?
That level of self-awareness is so crucial because it allows you to make decisions that are aligned with your values and your vision, even when those decisions are difficult or unconventional.
Yeah.
Okay, and here's another big one from the book: continuous learning and experimentation. These titans aren't just resting on their laurels, they're constantly seeking out new knowledge and refining their approaches.
Always growing, always evolving.
Ferriss talks about the importance of the minimum effective dose, or MED, which is about finding the smallest amount of effort required to produce the desired result.
So it's about maximizing efficiency.
Right. It challenges the idea that more is always better. Sometimes it's about being strategic and finding those high-impact actions that can create significant change without overwhelming ourselves.
I see. So quality over quantity.
Exactly. He gives a great example of this with the entrepreneur Jack Dorsey.
Oh, yeah, the co-founder of Twitter and Square.
Dorsey has a notoriously packed schedule.
Oh, I bet.
Yet he still manages to prioritize things like daily meditation and regular exercise.
So how does he fit it all in?
And the key is that he doesn't try to do everything perfectly. He focuses on finding the minimum effective dose for each activity.
Yeah.
So instead of striving for an hour-long meditation session, he might just do 10 minutes.
That's manageable.
It's about consistency and sustainability, not perfection.
That's so important. I think we often get caught up in the idea that we need to make these grand, sweeping changes.
Yeah.
But sometimes the most effective approach is to start small and build from there.
All right, and one last key takeaway from Tools of Titans that we have to touch on is the importance of relationships. Ferriss found that many of these incredibly successful individuals were also masters of building and nurturing strong connections.
Yeah.
In the book, Ferriss highlights the concept of 5-minute favors, which he learned from Adam Rifkin,
Okay.
a successful entrepreneur and investor. And these are small acts of kindness or support that you can offer someone without a huge time commitment.
Like what? Give me an example.
It could be as simple as sending a thank you note or making an introduction or sharing a helpful article.
Those are easy enough.
And what's remarkable is that these seemingly small gestures can have a ripple effect.
Okay.
They can strengthen bonds, open up opportunities, and create a sense of goodwill that comes back to you in unexpected ways.
Like the karma of networking.
It's a great reminder that building strong relationships isn't always about grand gestures. Sometimes it's about those consistent small acts of generosity that show people you care.
It's like the karma of networking.
Yeah, it's a great reminder that building strong relationships isn't always about grand gestures. Sometimes it's about those consistent small acts of generosity that show people you care.
And I think that ties in beautifully with one of the overarching themes of Tools of Titans,
Yeah.
that success isn't just about individual achievement.
Right.
It's about creating a supportive network,
Yeah.
about being a contributor, about lifting others up as you climb.
I love that it's not a zero-sum game. There's room for everyone to thrive. Now, as we wrap up our deep dive, I want to acknowledge that Tools of Titans is a massive book.
Oh, yeah.
It's packed with ideas and strategies. It can feel a bit overwhelming.
It definitely can. But I think that's part of its beauty. It's like a treasure trove of tools that you can revisit again and again
Yeah.
as you navigate different challenges and phases in your life.
Exactly. It's not a book you read once and put away.
Yeah.
It's a resource you come back to for inspiration, for fresh perspectives, for those aha moments when you need them most.
And remember, the key is not to try and implement every single thing Ferriss suggests.
Right.
It's about finding what resonates with you, what aligns with your goals and values, and experimenting to see what works.
So as we leave you with all these incredible insights from the Titans, I have a challenge for you. What's one small experiment inspired by what we've discussed today that you're willing to try this week?
Maybe it's incorporating a 5-minute deloading break into your workday, or identifying that crucial 20% of your tasks that are driving 80% of your results, or reaching out to someone you admire and offering a 5-minute favor.
Whatever it is, commit to taking action. Don't let these ideas just sit in your head. Put them into practice and see what happens.
The journey to becoming a Titan, as Ferriss reminds us, starts with a single step. And who knows, maybe your own unique set of tools is just waiting to be discovered.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Tools of Titans. We hope you've gained some valuable insights and that you're feeling inspired to go out there and create your own extraordinary life. We'll see you next time for another fascinating exploration of ideas that matter.